Hello, Deadlings. Welcome back to Exploring the Entity, where killers, survivors, and secrets collide. I'm your co host, Mark.
And Ducati. On today's episode, we will focus on survivors Bill, Ace, Feng, David, Quentin, and Tapp. First off, we're starting with William Bill Overbeck. He was released on March 8th, 2017 with Chapter 3.5 Left Behind. He's an American male with the role of Old Soldier. It took 2 years in Vietnam, a handful of medals, a knee full of shrapnel, and an honorable discharge to get William Bill Overbeck to stop fighting and try to live a peaceful life. He hated it. After decades spent drifting aimlessly through dead end jobs, Bill went in for a routine surgery and woke up to find the world he knew was gone. A plague was turning normal people into mindless killing machines. Naturally, the first thing he did was fight his way home and put on his uniform. Making his way through rural ghost towns and pitch black forest, he found other survivors, and together they fled from the infected hordes. In the end, Bill sacrificed himself to ensure their safety. His body was never found. Bill was left for dead. No one knows that he still has the only thing he ever wanted, an enemy to fight. On to his perks. First up, borrowed time. Whenever you unhook a survivor, they retain their unhook endurance for 6, 8, and 10 seconds longer. They retain their unhook haste for 10 seconds longer. Left behind. When all survivors are dead, while within 24, 28, and 32 meters of the hatch, you see its aura. And famously, unbreakable. Once per trial, while downed by the killer, you can fully recover. While downed, you recover 25, 30, and 35% faster.
Next, we are moving on to Ace Visconti. He was released on December 8th of 2016 within the chapter of Flesh and Mud. He is an Argentinian of Italian descent and he is a male, with the role of Lucky Gambler. Ace Visconti is one charming guy, with his sharp Italian looks, gray streaked hair, and silver tongue. He could pass for an aging 50s movie star. His heart has always belonged to the cards. From his roots as a poor boy in Argentina, he gambled, scammed, seduced, and smooth-talked his way to a life of luxury as a high roller in the land of opportunity. Despite money always having a way of slipping through his fingers, Ace always figured he could win more. He never fulfilled that ambition. Eventually, he racked up too many debts with the wrong kind of people. And when they finally came to collect, Ace was nowhere to be found. No one knew who tipped him off or where he fled to, but anyone who knew Ace Visconti can agree on one thing. He will survive against all odds. Moving on to his perks. First up, Ace in the Hole. Whenever you loot an item from a chest, it will have a visceral or lower rarity add-on, and a 100% chance for an uncommon or lower rarity add-on also. When you escape, you keep your add-ons. Open-handed. All survivors see auras that have a range from 16 meters further. Up the ante. For each survivor alive, all survivors are 3% luckier. All survivors can attempt to unhook themselves.
Next up, Feng Min, released on May 11, 2017 in Chapter 4, Spark of Madness. She is a Chinese female with the role Focused Competitor. Feng Min was a young girl when she first picked up computer games, and she was instantly hooked. The brand new worlds enchanted her with colors, sounds, and explosions, a chance to be somewhere else or someone else. Her parents saw no wrong with a few minutes in front of the screen. But as minutes turned into hours and sometimes days, they finally decided to pull the plug and force Feng Min to put more efforts into her studies. She felt smothered by her parents who refused to see the potential of a future in games. So she left home and spent her time in internet cafes and LAN parties where the old rules didn't apply. She spent hours playing, streaming, competing to raise to the top. Her parents became what she called holiday parties, as she never saw them outside the holidays, and she became the black sheep of a one child family. In the gaming world, however, she finally found respect. Nicknamed the Shining Lion, she was invited to join a prestigious esports team and to live in their dorms, where she found a sanctuary free of the misconceptions and prejudice she had felt from her parents and the non gaming world. Feng pushed her limits to prove she was the best. Sleep was less important to her than training. At the top of her game, she filled stadiums with fans who adored her, but it couldn't last forever. The pressure to be the best grew stronger and stronger. She pushed herself too far, slept too little, and her performance began to slip. She started to lose. At night, she would stay up, tormented by the thought of disappointing her parents and her fans. She spiraled out of control and fell into a pattern of self destruction. She started wandering the streets and visiting bars where no one knew of esports, waking up in places she didn't remember. One day she woke up somewhere completely different, in a never ending nightmare. Feng Min did not despair. As she learned more about the challenge she was up against, she realized this was what she had been training for her entire life. Now she was going to win. You see this through her perks, starting with Alert. Whenever the killer breaks a pallet or breakable wall or damages a generator, you hear a sound cue. You see their aura for 3, 4, and 5 seconds. Live. Whenever you medium or fast vault, you gain 50% haste for 3 seconds. You gain exhausted for 60, 50, and 40 seconds. Technician. While repairing a generator, the range of generator repair noises is 8 meters shorter. Whenever you miss a basic skill check, the generator does not explode, but loses 5, 4, and 3% more progress.
Next up, we're moving on to David King. He was released July 27th, 2017 in Chapter 5, A Lullaby for the Dark. He is an English male with the role of rugged scrapper. The single child of a wealthy family, David King seemed destined for greatness. While growing up in Manchester, he demonstrated serious potential in both sports and academics, and with his family connections, all doors were open to him. He could have succeeded at anything, if it weren't for his combative nature. David lived for the adrenaline rush of a good fight, and would go out of his way to get into one. His robustness and athletic abilities led him to rugby, where he could cut loose and really cause a ruckus. King excelled and gained a reputation as a promising, if somewhat reckless, rookie. His meteoric rise came to an abrupt end when he lost his temper and insulted a referee, earning himself a lifetime ban from the league and cutting short what most people assumed was going to be a long, successful career. King was unconcerned. Money was no issue, so he took it as an early retirement and focused on other fun things to do. Free from the constraints of a career and enabled by the wealth of his family, David King spent most of his time at the pub, drinking, watching games, and getting into fights. Some might say he was wasting his life away. Not many people knew that he was an occasional debt collector or that he fought in clandestine bare-knuckle fight clubs. When David stopped showing up at the pub, the few friends he had were not surprised. They figured he had finally picked a fight with someone stronger than he was. In a way, they were right. Moving on to his perks. The very famous Dead Hard. Whenever you are unhooked, while injured and running, use active ability 1. You gain endurance for 0.5 seconds. You get exhausted for 60, 50, and 40 seconds. No mither. When the trial starts, you become injured. Then you gain broken. Your grunts of pain are 100% quieter. You leave no pools of blood, and you recover 15, 20, and 25% faster. And you can fully recover. We're gonna live forever. You heal downed survivors 100% faster. Whenever you finish healing a downed survivor, They gain endurance for 6, 8, and 10 seconds, with a cooldown of 30 seconds.
Quentin Smith was released on October 26, 2017, Chapter 6, A Nightmare on Elm Street. He is a part of the licensed horror movie A Nightmare on Elm Street. He's an American male with the role of destitute Dreamwalker. When he heard that Nancy's mother had disappeared, Quentin Smith knew instantly that their success had been short-lived. Although their plan had seemed to work flawlessly, Freddy Krueger had beaten death yet again. But Quentin wasn't about to give up. It may take many attempts, but he vowed that somehow they would find a way to beat Freddy, once and for all. If he didn't, it would only be a matter of time before Freddy would win and Nancy was lost. Someone like Quentin never attracted attention in the library. No matter how strange the text he requested, he devoured all the information he could find on shared dream worlds, lucid dreamings, and the methods to control the dream space. Forcing himself to stay awake via a steady diet of pills and energy drinks, he searched through dusty volumes, finding myths about the demons that live in dreams, trapping their victims into limbo and feeding off their terror. He worked quickly, as he knew that Freddy would soon be coming for him. It wasn't long before that moment arrived, and Freddy began appearing in his dreams. He stayed at the prophecy at first, taunting Quentin, seemingly hoping to tire him out. Using all that he had learned, Quentin was able to see flaws in the dreams, cracks where escape routes could be formed. He tested this skill carefully, not wanting to show his hand, hoping that it would give him some kind of advantage that he could use to defeat Freddy. Then one night he found himself in the familiar environment of Bad Ham Preschool. Freddy had tried of the taunting and had finally decided to gut him. Quentin ran through the school, his quick eyes scanning for something useful in the maze of rooms. He found a can of paint thinner and quickly formulated a plan. Once the trap was set, he waited, acting as the lure to draw Freddy into the right position. And there he was, claws scraping on metal as he closed in for the kill. Quentin allowed himself to enjoy the surprise on Freddy's face as the corridor ignited, and then he was away, running through the building, hiding for the exit that he knew existed. If he harried Freddy, wakening him and then escaping the dream, surely that would defeat him over time. Before his eyes, the cracks in the dream closed and his escape route was blocked. He was in Freddy's secret room again, and there was nowhere to turn. As Freddy closed in, a broad grin spreading across his ruined face, Quentin was consumed with a need to see this man's finally obliterated. He wished it had been him, not his father, who threw the gas can that ended Krueger's life. That it had been him who cut Freddy's throat. Perhaps that desire would be enough. This was a realm of the mind, after all. He let it consume him, concentrating all his thoughts on wishing Freddy gone. His vision was obscured with rolling tinders of fog, and when it cleared, he was somewhere else. In another dream? If so, it wasn't his. It felt cold and unfamiliar. A flickering drew his attention, and he realized he was by a campfire, and he wasn't alone. Other people were trapped here too, and they needed his help. Moving on to his perks, starting with Pharmacy. Whenever you unlock a chest, it will contain a rare medkit. You unlock chests 75, 100, and 125% faster. The range at which the killer hears you unlocking chests is 12 meters shorter. Vigil. All survivors within 60 meters of you lose blindness, broken, exhausted, exposed, hemorrhage, hindered, mangled, and oblivious 44, 55, and 66% faster. After they leave your range, this ends after 15 seconds. Finally, Wake Up. When all generators are completed, you see the auras of exit gate switches. While opening an exit gate all other survivors to your aura. For each survivor alive, you open exit gates 8, 10, and 12.5% faster.
Moving on to the last survivor in this episode, Detective David Tapp. He was released January 23rd, 2018 in the Saw chapter. He is an African American male with the role of obsessed detective. Detective Tapp was one of the good guys. His determination to see killers brought to justice and their victims avenged had led him through a long and respected career. When he first saw the details of the Jigsaw case, it seemed like many others. More grisly and macabre, for sure, but just another lunatic with a penchant for overdramatic who would soon be behind bars. A stroke of insight brought Tapp and his partner, Detective Stephen Singh, to an abandoned mannequin factory, where they discovered Jigsaw's lair. They apprehended the man, but he managed to escape before being unmasked, slashing Tapp's throat as he did so. Leaving his partner, Singh went in pursuit, but fell victim to a booby trap. Tapp had failed to go by the book on this one occasion, entering the lair without a warrant, and it had resulted in a detective's death. He was discharged from the force and left with a ruined throat and crippling guilt. He channeled that guilt into an obsession. He would find the killer, stop the murders, vindicate himself, and avenge his friend and colleague. Following the evidence trail brought to him to Dr. Lawrence Gordon, and he staked out the doctor's apartment, sure that he would find some evidence of guilt. Then he saw a stranger at Gordon's window and heard gunshots. Tapp confronted him and the man fled, with the pursuit leading to an industrial building. Tapp's age caught up with him, a fight that he would easily have won in his younger days, ended with Tapp taking a bullet to the chest, slumping to the floor. He only saw failure. He had failed his partner and the other victims. Whoever the killer was, Tapp had been unable to stop him. More would die, and it would be his fault. He let the rage and guilt consume him and closed his eyes for the final time. Beneath him, the concrete floor softened. He dug his fingers into the ground, feeling dirt and leaves. Where his chest had been wet with blood, the shirt was now dry and the pain had gone. His eyes opened onto a darkened sky and the jagged, searching fingers of branches. Screams echoed through the forest, and a new determination filled him. His mind was clear for the first time in months. Victims needed to be avenged. Killers thwarted. He didn't know what this place was, but he was still a cop, and he would always be. He had a job to do. Moving on to his perks. Detective's Hunch. Whenever a generator is completed, for 20 seconds, within 32, 48, and 64 meters of you, you see the auras of chests, generators, and totems. Stakeout. After hiding for 15 seconds within the killer's terror radius, you earn 1 token up to 2, 3, or 4. Whenever you hit a good basic skill check, spend 1 token. The good skill check becomes a great skill check, and you gain 1% more progress. Tenacity. While downed, you gain 30, 40, and 50% haste. You can crawl and recover at the same time, and your grunts of pain are 75% quieter. If you are at all curious about the information you heard during this episode, feel free to head over to our website to see all of this at any time from any mobile device or computer. Thank you for joining us here at Exploring the Entity. Remember to follow us on Spotify and Instagram at Exploring the Entity.
Please make sure to head over to our episode's description to find the link to our website. Also, check us out on the visual side on YouTube at Exploring the Entity DVD. Until next time, Deadlings, keep your eyes on the shadows. Listen for the claws, because the fog doesn't just surround you, it waits for you.